Everybody, I'm Albert from Lateral Hub, and I'm here with Megan Senese from Stage. And today we're going to talk about the big N, networking. Megan, first question, tell us about what you do.
Yes, I am the co-founder and principal of Stage with my partner, Jen Ramsey. She's in San Diego. I'm here on Long Island in my basement. We are a virtual marketing and business development fractional coaching company for law firms and lawyers. We also support legal marketers and business development professionals with their overflow work and then also with their career development with some mentorship and guidance.
Fantastic. All right, so we're talking about networking today. Megan, how do you define networking?
How do I define networking? I think this question is, I feel like this is a tricky question. It's a trick question. Because for me, networking should really turn into what feels authentic for you.
Right.
And I think as people, at least for when I first started, networking always felt like this very big, kind of convoluted, something you do in a big conference room or maybe something that you're doing kind of late at night. And there was only like one way to do networking where you get something. And I think that's
Yeah.
really shifting now, at least for, I'm hopeful it's shifting now, where if
Yeah.
you're really focusing on relationships and building connections that will carry you through your entire career. On the flip side of that, you would hear kind of all the time, like it's all about relationships, it's all about relationships, and that's how you get work and that's how you get deals. And particularly if you're supporting lawyers, that's the advice that we're giving to the lawyers all the time. But what if you don't know anyone, right? Like, what if you feel like you don't have that network or you don't have any
Yeah.
relationships? That can feel really kind of overwhelming to kind of start where to start. And so I think it's just thinking about the relationships that you have in your life, thinking about the people that you've worked with in the past, thinking about maybe who you've come across, and start to
Yeah.
tell people like what it is that you're like looking for, and then connecting those people to other people.
Yeah. No, that's great. I always, whenever I speak with young associates, one of the things I always tell them is, being at your first law firm is probably the best networking opportunity you're ever going to have, but you
Mhm.
don't notice it because you're at work.
Right.
And it's definitely the same thing with legal professionals. There's so many people that you can create relationships with that, that'll just grow over time. So I'm glad that you have the same approach. Yeah.
It took a while to kind of get to that approach, particularly when you're kind of starting out. If you're an
Yeah.
associate or you're a coordinator kind of level, your focus is like getting in, doing your job,
Yep.
and going home.
Yep.
And for me in the beginning, my mentality, particularly like as a New Yorker, was like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to do my job, do it well. And so that's not great,
Right.
approach for networking. And so I think if you're focusing on, okay, maybe it's not once a week, but maybe once a month, I'm going to get lunch with a coworker, or
Yeah.
once a month, I'm going to leave my desk or my cube and
Yeah.
grab a cup of coffee with somebody that I know and
Yeah.
really think about networking in that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. So outside of someone's actual workplace,
Yeah.
what are other opportunities that people can take advantage, especially legal professionals, to do more networking in the industry?
I mean, you can definitely do the traditional route of joining various associations.
Yep.
There's Legal Marketing Association for me, for example. I always found those to be a little bit big and
Right.
hard to kind of find your place. I'm a big fan now of using LinkedIn and writing content. That's how you and I got connected.
Yes. Yes.
And so I think that's a great way to kind of do a little toe dip into figuring out
Yes.
what networking looks like for you. You can really tailor that and have that be individualized.
Yeah.
Dragging your coworkers kind of along to maybe do articles, or former coworkers is kind of another one to write
Mhm.
content with you. Um, but I also think that what's overlooked is just your town, even your town. So
Yeah.
like I live in a commuting town essentially, and I always overlooked that, right? That all the professionals must be in New York City. And they are, right?
Yeah.
But to the extent you can, like, meet up with your mom groups, for example, for a cup of coffee, or you can do things with your town and your sports teams with your kids and things like that. It's
Yeah.
something that I often gets overlooked, but
Yeah.
it helps localize it a little bit, and it helps break
Yeah.
it down into making it not so scary when you're thinking about
Yeah.
this big kind of nebulous networking, what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to the concept of just creating relationships and kind of everywhere. It doesn't always have to be at work. And I think you're exactly right. Just people in your community, whether it's a religious organization or
Hmm.
sports or school, just getting to know who people are, and you realize you have a lot in common or things like that. I know same way I worked in New York City for many years, and then now I actually work in a shared workspace in New Jersey, and
Right.
there's so many different people doing different things here, and I've learned so much and made a lot of connections. And yeah, the idea that you have to be in the big city to meet people is a myth. And I love your point about LinkedIn, because I personally have so many relationships since I started this business, where the different friends I have in the industry, and I totally forgot that the reason we even know each other is from LinkedIn, including us.
Yes.
And even though LinkedIn is kind of, it's always the butt of the joke, humbled and honored, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It really is a great tool. There are people who you can find a lot in common with people on LinkedIn, and you're able to, if you see somebody on LinkedIn doing something cool, reach out to them and say, hey, just want to say hello. We don't know each other, but I think what you're doing is really cool for these reasons. We might end up having a conversation with them. Maybe you have a mutual friend or a lot in common. I know I've gotten some of those messages when I started Lateral Hub and throughout the last couple of years. I know you've gotten some of those too. And so, that's also, I love the point you made about LinkedIn, because this really is an opportunity to create real relationships, not just like online,
Yeah.
social media relationships.
Yeah, I think the piece is right. It's you're putting out content that hopefully is real and
Right.
authentic and is helpful. At least that's my goal when I'm writing content. And then it's the connection piece. So often people get kind of nervous or scared because of the social media content, or aspect rather. And people are like, I don't want to be showy, or then like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
But for me, the purpose is like LinkedIn becomes the platform
Yep.
of distributing the content, obviously. And then your goal is to move it into, for me, to move it into the personal one-to-one messaging, and then
Hmm.
move them out, just not
Yeah.
what LinkedIn wants to hear, but move them
Yeah.
out of the messaging and get,
Right.
face to face as close as you
Right.
can. And um, for the most part, a lot of my contacts are not in New York, right? They're all over the
Right.
place. And that has allowed me to network a lot more efficiently. I'm
Right.
a working parent, and the amount of like virtual networking sessions that I've had where if you're showing up in a way that's like, I just want to get to know you, I'm not selling you, I'm not selling you
Yeah. Yeah.
anything. And then you're reciprocating and learning about them, and they're learning about you. They become your ambassadors without you even having to
Yeah.
kind of ask for it. And so it's a really great tool if you get over that fear of like, well, I don't have anything to say, or like
Yeah.
I'm bothering that person. If you can just get over that kind of initial hump, if you will,
Yeah.
then it can really work wonders, for you. And it's free, right? Like it's
Yes.
free. Your time, but
Yes.
it's free, right?
Right.
It's one of the most effective marketing and business development strategies that I have for my personal business, right? Um, and so it can, if I'm like, basically, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Let's say somebody is, creating relationships, they're working, at a certain job, and maybe it's time to look for something else.
Mm.
How can somebody, let's say a legal professional who's looking for a new opportunity, leverage those relationships that they made to actually find something tangible, like a new job opportunity?
Yes. Tell as many people as you feel comfortable that you're looking for a new job,
Yeah.
because those people might be looking for you as well as, you looking for yourself.
Right.
I used to check job boards all the time just for fun. I jumped quite a few times, for various reasons, mostly money,
Yeah.
but various reasons. But always telling people what I was looking for, what I was hoping for. So maybe even getting clear on what is it you want. Looking at the job boards, looking at what things that looked interesting.
Yeah.
I talk to recruiters all the time just to get a sense of what was out there. Is it better than what I have now? Is it not? And really just, I mean, really it comes down to just like talking to as many people as you can within, within reason, right?
Yeah.
There's obviously some confidentiality that you don't want everyone to know that you're
Right.
that you're
Right.
looking. But the more people that have eyes and ears out for you, kind of the better. I mean, I also had this really interesting opportunity come across my desk because I took a certification course, and the person that I met during a virtual certification, we were in a workout group, and they thought of me as they were writing this job description, and they literally just kind of called me up and said, like, is this something you'd be interested in? And that was just because I showed up at this, course as myself and was talking about what my
Yep.
future hopes and dreams were. And so you kind of never really know what's out there for you. But I would get clear on what you're looking for, so you can let people help you. So you can let people help you.
Yes. Yes, and I love that, because when you're able to tap into your network, obviously within reason, without breaching your own confidentiality, but when you're able to reach out to your network, not only are you getting the advantage of your own network, but you're getting the advantage of your network's network, and that's when
Yes.
it really starts to really fly,
Yeah.
because you're able to take advantage of second degree connections or ideas.
Yeah. And reciprocate, right? So if you're only calling people when you need something, then
Right.
right, that's not necessarily the relationship building that we're talking about
Right.
here. This is a two-way street where, like, how would you treat your friend if your friend is looking for a
Right.
job? Then you want to help them, and kind of vice versa. So if people are helping
Yeah.
you, like, try to return the favor, and being and connecting other people in the same way that hopefully they're doing that for you.
I know you work with both attorneys and legal professionals and
Mhm.
law firms.
Yes.
So, what advice do you have specifically for the legal professional community around networking effectively?
Yeah. My advice is to follow the advice that you give to the lawyers. So, all of the time, I mean, a lot of the times, particularly on the BD side, right? I'm going to be BD focused because I bias against bias bias from that point of view. But we're often telling the lawyers, right, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You need to be authentic. You have to do business development kind of every day. And their purpose is, of course, to grow their book of business, to grow their revenue. Um, but I think if you're on the support staff side or you're on the professional side, if you're waiting until you need your network,
Yeah.
it's almost too late.
Yep.
And you don't want to be stuck kind of without out that support system. So think about how you can build your community. Think about who you can who you want to support, right? And who you want to prop up. Sometimes that's another kind of easy way to network is I want to support those people.
Hmm.
I want to see them succeed, and then hopefully it will be reciprocated. And so that may be another kind of tool. So practice what you teach to your
Yeah.
lawyers. Go to the events that are appropriate and feel authentic. Step out of your comfort zone a little bit, and support everybody else. Like, support people that you want to see succeed, and then know that it will come back to you at some point.
Amazing. Well, I guess last question, Megan. How can somebody find you if they want to work with you personally? If they want to work with you for their law firm, how can somebody find you?
Oh, well, I'm on LinkedIn every day, so you can find me on LinkedIn. You can go to our website, which is stage.guide. And I also will offer, just if anyone wants to do like a practice network, I'm happy to do those kind of quick 15-minute practice networking meet and greet, right? They can be kind of awkward in the beginning. And so if you want to do the awkward with me, I'm happy to do that.
Take advantage of Megan. Reach out to her. Thanks again for taking the time to join us. This is really
Mhm.
helpful.
Thanks for having me.